How's it going, everybody? What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be planting potatoes, okay? But we're going to be doing it in an unconventional way. And the unconventional way that we're going to be doing it is instead of digging in the ground like you see in the conventional way and burying our potatoes, we're going to just be leaving them on the surface instead and covering them in mulch, okay? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a comparison as to why I think that the unconventional way of just leaving them on the ground and covering them in mulch, in this case, we're going to be using leaves, but you can use any mulch that you want to use as long as you have easy access to it. You can use it. And I'm going to be explaining why that way, in my opinion, is so much more practical than the conventional way of digging in the ground. Okay, so anyway, why is this method of leaving the potatoes on the surface of the ground and just covering them in mulch so much more superior than the conventional way of digging and burying them under the ground? First of all, digging is more work. You know, it's obviously more work to dig than it is to just leave the potato on the surface. Second of all, when you dig in the ground, you're disturbing the soil, right? And so by doing that, you may be, instigating your soil to shoot off weeds. So as soon as you bury your potatoes, you immediately have to compete also with weeds, and then you might be weeding for the entire season. Not only that, you have to water your plot and make sure that you keep everything, that your plants are hydrated. Now, the traditional way of just burying them and covering in mulch, that leaf mulch holds in so much moisture that you really don't have to water at all. As long as you get one or two good rains a month, that leaf mulch holds in that water, and you do not have to water it at all. Not only that, do you not have to water it, but it suppresses all the other weeds from growing. See, how does the only thing it doesn't suppress is the potatoes, and that's because the potatoes are such a large seed that they can grow through that leaf mulch. But nothing else can if you put enough on it. So when you put the leaf mulch on there or whatever mulch you have, you want to put it on nice and heavy. That potato can grow through that heavy mulch. But the weeds, that can't grow through the heavy mulch. And so your potatoes now have nothing to compete with. You don't have to get out there and weed, and it's going to hold in all that water. Not only that, instead of having to till up the ground to make the ground soft, the leaves are just sitting on the ground and protecting it and protecting all of the type of bacteria and worms that like to live under leaf mulch and feed off of leaf mulch. And they're going to be tunneling through the ground and softening the soil up for you and processing all the fertilizer and all of the compost that you already have in the ground and turning it into food for your potatoes. So you really don't have to fertilize that much at all this way because you have worms composting the soil and making it and turning every single inch of nutrients in the ground um, into um, into basically food for your potatoes, which your potatoes don't have to compete for. Okay. Then when we come to the harvest time, when it comes time to harvest, all we have to do is reveal our leaves. Is just blow them off, and then that reveals all of our potatoes that are pretty much going to still be on the surface, and we can harvest them. Whereas if you bury them right, you have to dig. You got to get a pitchfork usually, and usually then you got to worry about stabbing the potatoes, and you usually lose a few potatoes when you're harvesting because no matter how careful you are, you end up stabbing a few, right? So you don't have to worry about any of that. You work less. It costs you less time and energy, and it produces a better crop. You don't have to water. You don't have to weed. You don't have to shovel. You don't have to dig. You don't have to do any of that, and then you're gonna have a better crop. Why would you go burying them in the ground and doing it the conventional way? So these are my just this is just all my opinion, but I did it this way last year, and I was shocked at how well it did. All I did was literally sit them on the ground, and I did nothing, and then I had a huge supply of potatoes. So by working with nature and just working with what I have around me, I was able to get a huge crop of potatoes. This time I'm going to document it and show you guys. So I hope that I made a good case for this way of just covering the potatoes in mulch and just burying them and just leaving them on the surface of the ground as opposed to digging. Now what I'm just going to do is I'm going to show you how that's all done and how simple and easy it is. And once we do it, we're done. We don't have to touch this until it's time to harvest. Okay, I'll be showing you that right now. So as you can see here, I have 2 rows of potatoes. And you know, not that much this year. That's all I'm going to be planting this year. You could do this on as small of a scale or as large of a scale as you would like, though, and it'll work just the same. But here I just got 2 rows, and you can see I got my pile of leaves, and I'm going to cover the potatoes with those leaves. But if you, as you can see in the middle, what I have is I have composted chicken manure that's been composted in my chicken coop. The chickens have just been pooping on wood chips for a few months now, and so I've taken that out, and I'm going to side dress the potatoes with that. Now notice I didn't sit it on my potatoes because I don't want the potatoes sitting in chicken manure. I want them off to the side. They'll have easy access to that manure, especially since they won't be competing with anything else to get it. Okay, so that's going to slow feed to those potatoes, and I'm confident that we don't need any other fertilizer other than that. If you have fresh soil, you might be able to get away without fertilizing at all the first year. Eventually, you're going to probably have to fertilize if you keep planting in the same spot. Add some nitrogen to the soil. But so if you have easy access to nitrogen, this is free nitrogen that I have access to. That's why I'm using it. If I didn't have it, I'd be fine doing it without the chicken manure as well. But we're going to just take the leaves and cover all of this with leaves. And also, one other thing I wanted to mention, I'm doing this in late October, so we're going to be overwintering these potatoes. Okay, so that's another thing that you can do is you can actually overwinter potatoes in the ground, and that mulch is enough to cover them and keep them warm in the zone that we live in. I'm in hardiness zone 7A. Okay, I did this last year in zone 7B in Baltimore, Maryland. Now I'm in northern Alabama in zone 7A, and they did fine last year in Baltimore, which gets, the winters are much colder there than they are here, and so we have milder winters here, and I'm pretty confident that we're not going to have any problems of these overwintering in this zone. If you go up to a colder zone, you might have a problem being able to overwinter the potatoes. I'm not sure, but I know that in zone 7B, 7A, and warmer, that you certainly can overwinter potatoes, which gives you an early jump on the spring season, which then you will be able to plant whatever you want right after your potatoes. Oh, and here's another one more benefit is the potatoes are already have already prepped the soil because the leaves have kept those weeds suppressed, so you can immediately plant something else. You don't have to till and dig up weeds to plant anything. Okay, hope that helped. Okay guys, I'm gonna rake these leaves over onto the potatoes. All right, here we go. And that's it, guys. As you can see, we raked over the leaves. That took me less than 5 minutes to do with just, 2 rows of potatoes, but not a lot of work. Good little workout, raking the leaves up. I'll probably come back here later and probably dump a couple more loads of leaves on top of it just to make sure the potatoes are very nicely covered. Remember, you can be very, very generous with the mulch. The potatoes have no problem growing through it, okay? But the more mulch you put on, the less weeds you're going to have. You put enough mulch, you won't have any weeds, okay? So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully this method can work for you. Hopefully you guys learned something today if you have never heard of this method. And I just hope that this helps somebody. And please let me know how you feel about it in the comments. Thank you guys. Thank you so much.